So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto X Hazbin Hotel X Harem and Become Demon. So let's start the series. The evening had started with such promise. Charlie Morningstar believed, genuinely, desperately believed, that tonight would be different. That for once, the Hazbin Hotel might experience something resembling peace. She had spent hours arranging the lobby, fluffing pillows that Nifty had already fluffed twice, adjusting the lighting to something warm and inviting rather than the usual hellish crimson glow that bathed Pentagram City. She had even convinced Husk to prepare a selection of ambience-appropriate beverages, which mostly meant him glaring at her while pouring cheap booze into slightly nicer glasses. It's going to be perfect, Charlie whispered to herself, stepping back to admire her work. The lobby looked, well, it looked like the Hazbin Hotel, which meant it still had gaping shadows in corners where light refused to reach, wallpaper that occasionally moved if you stared too long, and a faint smell of sulfur mixed with Angel Dust's latest perfume experiment. But Charlie had added string lights. String lights made everything better. Perfect is a strong word, Han. Charlie turned to find Vaggie descending the staircase, one eyebrow raised, a fond smile tugging at her lips despite her skeptical tone. Her girlfriend crossed the lobby and slipped an arm around Charlie's waist. I'm just saying, Charlie protested. We've survived an extermination. We've survived Adam. We've survived my dad's emotional baggage. Surely we can survive one calm evening with the family. Vaggie's expression shifted, that particular look she got when she wanted to protect Charlie from disappointment, but also couldn't bring herself to crush her optimism. Charlie! I know, Charlie sighed, leaning into her. The sins are coming. And my dad. And Alastair is. Alastair. But maybe, just maybe, they'll behave? For one night? Before Vaggie could respond, and Charlie could see she was choosing her words carefully, the hotel's front doors burst open with enough force to rattle the chandelier. Charlie! Your favorite uncle has arrived! Beelzebub swept inside like a hurricane made of sugar and chaos, her presence immediately raising the room's temperature by several degrees. She moved in that distinctive way of hers, half floating, half buzzing, completely uncontrollable. Behind her, a trail of party streamers materialized from nowhere, wrapping around Husk's head before he could duck. The hell? Husk sputtered, tearing rainbow-colored paper from his face. Relax, grumpy guts! Beelzebub cackled, spinning through the lobby and examining everything with manic delight. Ooh, Charlie, you decorated! String lights! Very domestic. Very human. I love it! Thank you, Andy B., Charlie said, genuinely pleased. I was hoping we could all just. Hell's cheapest wine. Husk muttered from behind the bar, examining a bottle with profound disgust. Who brought this? I did. The voice that followed was like grinding tectonic plates. Satan ducked through the doorway. He had to duck, because even the hotel's impressively tall entrance wasn't designed for someone of his stature. The sin of wrath filled the space with his presence, all muscle and barely contained fury wrapped in a perpetual scowl that suggested he'd rather be literally anywhere else. It's not cheap, Satan continued, his voice rumbling through the floorboards. It's efficient. Alcohol content over flavor. There's a difference. There's really not, Husk said. Satan's eyes narrowed. For a moment, the temperature in the room dropped several degrees, the kind of cold that preceded explosive violence. Then Beelzebub materialized between them, laughing. Lighten up, both of you! We're here for family time. She stretched the words out, bouncing on her heels. Quality time with our favorite niece. No fighting, no scheming, no. No what? Alastair materialized from the shadows at the top of the staircase, his grin a fixed and terrible thing. He descended slowly, each step accompanied by the faint crackle of radio static, his eyes fixed on the gathering with obvious amusement. No fun? He finished, reaching the bottom and spreading his arms. Because I do hope we're not forbidding fun. Fun is rather my specialty. Your specialty is being annoying, Vaggie muttered. Those aren't mutually exclusive, my dear. Alastair's grin widened. In fact, they overlap quite beautifully. Charlie stepped forward, hands raised in her best peacekeeper stance. Okay, everyone, let's find our seats and try to relax. This is supposed to be a nice evening. Low stakes. No drama. Low stakes? Satan repeated flatly. You invited the sins to a hotel and expect low stakes. I invited my family, Charlie corrected, and something in her voice made even Satan pause. All of you. Because I thought maybe. She stopped, regrouped. Because I wanted to. Okay? I just wanted to. The lobby fell into an awkward silence. Then, from the doorway. Well, when you put it that way. Lucifer Morningstar stepped inside, and the room's energy shifted immediately. He moved with the easy confidence of someone who owned absolutely everything he could see, which, technically, he did. His white suit was immaculate, his hat perfectly angled, his expression carefully neutral in a way that Charlie recognized as a defense mechanism. Dad? She crossed to him, hugging him before he could deflect. I'm glad you came. Lucifer stiffened for just a moment. Decades of isolation made physical affection complicated, before relaxing into the embrace. Of course, Char, wouldn't miss it. Touchy-feely. Alastair observed from his position by the fireplace. How heartwarming. Don't you have a radio to monopolize somewhere? Lucifer asked mildly, not looking up from his daughter. Don't you have a throne to abandon somewhere? Alastair shot back, still grinning. Charlie stepped between them before the static in the air could build further. Snacks? She announced loudly. I have snacks. Everyone please sit down and try the snacks. Somehow, miraculously, she got them seated. The lobby arrangement had evolved into something resembling a bizarre family portrait. Lucifer occupied the largest armchair, legs crossed, projecting an air of detached amusement that Charlie knew masked approximately 17 layers of anxiety. Satan had claimed a couch that creaked alarmingly under his weight, his massive arms folded, his expression suggesting he was already counting minutes until he could leave. Beelzebub floated cross-legged above an ottoman, occasionally dipping down to sample snacks with enthusiastic commentary. The hotel residents had arranged themselves around the edges. Angel Dust lounged across an entire love seat, Fat Nuggets squealing happily in his lap. Husk remained behind the bar, polishing glasses with aggressive disinterest, though Charlie noticed he kept one ear tuned to the conversation. Nifty darted between guests, offering hors d'oeuvres with unsettling speed and occasionally stopping to stare at someone for slightly too long. Vaggie sat close to Charlie on a smaller couch, her spear never far from reach, watching the sins with the wariness of someone who'd learned that powerful demons rarely gathered without consequences. Alastair had positioned himself near the fireplace, leaning against the mantel with practiced casualness. His smile hadn't wavered once. So, Charlie clapped her hands together, drawing attention. I was thinking we could do something fun tonight. Maybe play some games? Or watch a movie? I have several human films that I think could be really educational about. Educational? Satan repeated flatly. You want to educate us? About redemption? Yes. Because that's the whole point of the hotel, and I thought if you all understood the process better you might. Sugarplum. Lucifer's voice was gentle but firm. They're not going to sit through a lecture about redemption. But I prepared slides. Beelzebub burst into laughter, genuine and warm. Oh, Charlie. You're adorable. Really. But I didn't fly all the way from the gluttony ring to watch PowerPoint presentations. She floated closer, dropping her voice conspiratorially. I came because I heard a rumor. What kind of rumor? Vaggie asked, instantly alert. The fun kind. Beelzebub's eyes glittered. Something about dimensional instability near the Pride Ring's border. Strange energy signatures. The kind of thing that usually means either heaven's up to something interesting or what? Satan leaned forward. Or we're about to get a show. The lights flickered. Everyone tensed, some reaching for weapons, others for powers, Angel Dust simply grabbing Fat Nuggets and rolling backward off the love seat in a move that suggested extensive practice. The lobby's centerpiece chandelier swung slightly, though no breeze had touched it. The shadows in the corners deepened, then rippled, then a screen materialized in the air. Not a television screen, not a projection, but something that existed as a physical impossibility, a rectangle of pure light hanging in the center of the room, its surface shimmering like heat haze over hellfire. It was easily 15 feet across, dominating the space, its edges crackling with energy that smelled faintly of ozone and something else, something older. What? Satan growled, rising to his feet. Is that? I don't know. Lucifer stood as well, all trace of lazy amusement gone. His eyes had gone gold, power gathering around him like heat distortion. But it's not from our hell. Not from any ring I know. Beelzebub agreed, her perpetual smile dimming for once. The energy signature is wrong. Different. Different how? Charlie asked, moving closer to Vaggie. Different like it doesn't belong to our reality, different. Beelzebub's wings buzzed anxiously. Like someone opened a door somewhere they really shouldn't have. Alastair had abandoned the fireplace, moving to the edge of the group with unusual caution. His smile remained, but it had tightened, become something more predatory and less performative. Fascinating. And here I thought this evening might be dreadfully boring. The screen flickered again. Words began to form across its surface, letters burning into existence like someone writing with lightning. Satan chop. The lobby fell silent. Satan stared at the screen, his expression shifting through several emotions too quickly to track. That's my name. Your name and something else, Lucifer observed, his voice carefully neutral. Satan chop. Sounds like a fighting style. Or a cooking technique. Angel Dust offered from behind the overturned love seat. You know, like pork chop, Satan chop. Not helping, Vaggie snapped. The screen flickered again, and this time images began to form, not words, but pictures. Moving pictures. A landscape materialized before them, and even through the dimensional barrier, everyone in the lobby recognized it immediately. Hell. But not their hell. The sky was wrong, darker, angrier, streaked with colors that didn't exist in their reality. The buildings were wrong, familiar architecture twisted into unfamiliar shapes. And the demons? Are those hellhounds? Beelzebub leaned forward, squinting. They look like hellhounds, but different. More wolf-like. And those markings on their faces. Those are whisker marks. Charlie breathed. Like a fox. The image shifted, zooming through streets and structures until it reached what appeared to be a palace, though palace seemed inadequate for the structure that dominated the horizon. It was massive, sprawling, built from what looked like obsidian and gold, its spires reaching toward that alien sky like grasping hands. And at its center, on a throne that could have held 3 ordinary demons, a figure. Golden hair that defied gravity, spiking in ways that suggested either incredible styling products or supernatural intervention. Bright blue eyes that seemed to glow even through the dimensional feed. Whisker-like markings on each cheek. A voluminous orange coat that hung from his shoulders like a king's robe, though underneath it, Charlie could see practical clothing, black and orange, fitted for movement rather than ceremony. He was beautiful, in the way that storms were beautiful. Dangerous. Unpredictable. Absolutely in control. And he was yelling at a duck. Told you 3 times, quackers! The Gluttony Ring's grain distribution manifests go in the green binder, not the blue binder. This is basic paperwork. Basic! I shouldn't have to explain this to a duck. The duck, which was, indeed, a duck, albeit one wearing a tiny waistcoat, quacked apologetically. Don't quack at me! You quacked last time! You quack every time! And every time, I find manifests in the wrong binders. The screen zoomed in slightly, and the lobby got a better look at the demon's face. He was exhausted. Beneath the power, beneath the presence, beneath the obviously immense strength radiating from every pore, he was exhausted. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His shoulders slumped slightly, even sitting on what was clearly a throne. His hands moved with the kind of automatic precision that came from doing the same tasks thousands of times. Who? Lucifer said slowly. Is that? The image shifted again, and this time text appeared beneath the golden demon. Saturn ruler of the Wrath Ring alternate reality designation, Naruto Uzumaki. The lobby erupted. That's Satan? Beelzebub shrieked, laughing so hard she nearly fell off her floating perch. He looks like a hellhound with a dye job. Angel Dust finished, emerging from behind the love seat. And is that a duck? In a vest? Working for the sin of wrath? Alternate reality. Satan himself growled, his voice vibrating through the floor. That's supposed to be me? Some fox-faced bureaucrat with a pet duck? Fascinating. Alastair murmured, and for once he sounded genuinely interested rather than performatively amused. An entirely different hell, with entirely different rulers. And look, he pointed with his microphone. The Wrath Ring's ruler handles paperwork. Paperwork. How deliciously mundane. Charlie couldn't tear her eyes away from the screen. The golden demon, Naruto, the text had called him, had finished berating the duck and now sat back in his throne, rubbing his face with both hands. Behind him, she could see stacks of paper. Endless stacks. Mountains of documents that would have made Husk's bartending inventory look like a single receipt. He's drowning, Charlie whispered. What? Vaggie looked at her. The work. Look at it. He's surrounded by it, and he's... She watched as the demon on screen reached for another binder, flipping through it with the mechanical exhaustion of someone who hadn't stopped moving in years. He's alone. Doing all of it alone. He's Satan, Satan said flatly. He's not alone. He has... He stopped. Everyone looked at him. What? Beelzebub prompted. Satan's jaw worked. He has other sins. Presumably. In that reality, they should be helping him. Should they? Lucifer's voice was quiet, but it cut through the room. Do we help each other? The silence that followed was heavy with things unsaid. On screen, the golden demon, Naruto, Charlie reminded herself, his name is Naruto, set down the binder and stared at nothing. His expression shifted, exhaustion giving way to something harder. Something like resolve. Or like a man reaching his breaking point. I can't do this anymore, he said quietly, to the duck, to himself, to whatever audience existed in that alien hell. I can't keep holding everything together while he stopped, shook his head. No. No more. He stood. And Charlie felt, somehow, that everything was about to change. The screen flickered, the image beginning to shift towards something new. Wait. Charlie stepped forward, hand outstretched. It's still playing. We need to see. The image stabilized, and a new scene began to form. A new demon appeared on screen. White blonde hair. Red eyes. 6 magnificent wings folding behind his back. A smile that was simultaneously charming and deeply, fundamentally lazy. Lucifer Morningstar. An alternate Lucifer Morningstar. And he was napping. The real Lucifer stared at the screen with an expression that Charlie couldn't quite read. Well, he said after a long moment, that's certainly a depiction. You're sleeping, Beelzebub crowed, pointing at the screen. Oh my God, alternate you is just. She dissolved into laughter. On a throne made of ducks, Angel Dust added, and yes, upon closer inspection, the alternate Lucifer's throne did appear to be constructed from interlocking duck-shaped cushions. That's commitment to a theme. I don't. Lucifer started, then stopped. That's not. I don't nap on duck thrones. You nap on regular thrones, though, Vaggie said. It wasn't quite a question. The silence that followed was answer enough. On screen, the alternate Lucifer stirred slightly, one eye cracking open to survey the demon who had entered his chamber, the golden demon, Naruto, who stood at the foot of the duck throne with an expression of barely controlled fury. Oh, alternate Lucifer murmured, his voice carrying that same musical quality as the real version, but laced with something dismissive. It's you. What is it this time? Another ring dispute? Another resource allocation problem? Another mess you should be handling. Naruto cut in. His voice was tight, controlled, the kind of control that preceded explosion. The Envy Ring is contesting border territories with Wrath. Again. Gluttony's tribute shipments are 3 weeks late. Again. And the mortal contracts, Lucifer, there are over 10,000 mortal contracts awaiting your signature. 10,000. And? Alternate Lucifer waved a lazy hand. Sign them for me. You're good at that. I'm not good at it. I'm forced to be good at it because someone. Naruto's voice cracked, just slightly. Someone has to actually run this place. Do they? Alternate Lucifer sat up slowly, his expression shifting towards something harder. Does anyone need to run anything? Hell's been functioning for millennia. It'll keep functioning. Functioning? Functioning? Naruto's laugh was bitter sharp. Is that what you call it? Because from where I'm sitting, functioning means me doing your job while you sit on a throne made of ducks and pretend responsibility doesn't exist. The real Lucifer shifted uncomfortably in his own chair. Ducks, Satan muttered, and despite everything, there was something like sympathy in his voice. He's being yelled at by his wrath's sin while sitting on ducks. Focus, Charlie whispered, though she wasn't sure if she was telling them or herself. We need to focus on what this means. On screen, the argument continued escalating. You want to talk about responsibility? Alternate Lucifer rose from his throne, wings spreading slightly, his height suddenly seeming much more significant. You, who flies into rage at the slightest provocation. You, whose temper has started 3 separate ring wars. Those were justified. Justified. You destroyed an entire district because someone insulted your. Lucifer stopped, something flickering across his face. Because someone insulted your ramen. Your favorite ramen stand. It was a very good ramen stand. The lobby exploded with laughter. Even Satan cracked something that might have been a smile before quickly suppressing it. Ramen, Beelzebub wheezed. He started wars over noodles. Alternate me has excellent taste. Naruto, the real one, the one on screen, growled, and Charlie had to remind herself that this demon wasn't actually present. Ramen is sacred. He's defending himself, Charlie observed. Even across dimensional barriers, he's defending his alternate self's ramen choices. Priorities. Angel Dust snorted. On screen, the argument had reached new heights. At least I care about something, Naruto shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. At least I show up. At least I try. What do you do, Lucifer? What do you actually do anymore? The alternate Lucifer's expression shifted, a crack in that lazy facade, something raw beneath. I mourn. The word hung in the air. I mourn, he repeated, quieter now. Every day. Every single day I mourn. And you? He looked at Naruto, and for a moment there was something almost vulnerable in his eyes. You don't understand what that's like. To lose someone so completely that half of you just stops existing. The lobby went still. Charlie looked at her father, her real father, and saw something pass across his face. Something quickly hidden. On screen, Naruto's anger seemed to falter. Lilith, he said quietly. I know you miss her. But Lucifer. He stepped forward, and despite everything, there was something almost gentle in his movement. You can't stop living because she's gone. You can't let hell fall apart because you're in pain. I'm not. You are. Look at this place. Look at what's happened since she disappeared. The rings are fragmenting. The systems are breaking down. And Naruto's voice cracked again. I'm holding up the sky by myself, and I'm tired, Lucifer. I'm so tired. The real Charlie felt tears prick at her eyes. She didn't know this demon, didn't know his world or his struggles, but she knew exhaustion. She knew what it was like to carry impossible weight. I'm tired too, alternate Lucifer whispered. But I don't know how to stop. The two rulers stood there, separated by a chasm of grief and responsibility, and years of accumulated pain. And for just a moment, they weren't enemies or adversaries, just two demons who had lost something essential and didn't know how to go on. Then Naruto straightened, and something in his expression hardened. Then I'll make you stop. The screen flickered, the image beginning to dissolve. No! Charlie stepped forward again. We need to see what happens next. What does he mean? The screen steadied, and a title card appeared. Chapter 2, The Bureaucracy of Wrath. Next chapter, Vaggie murmured. It's showing us in chapters. A serialized dimensional broadcast, Alastair mused, tapping his microphone against his chin. How delightfully dramatic. We're meant to watch this unfold episode by episode. Then we watch. Lucifer had settled back into his chair, though his expression was more thoughtful than before. I want to see how this ends. So do I. Charlie agreed softly. So do I. The screen went dark, but only for a moment. Already, new images were beginning to form. The story, it seemed, was just beginning. Chapter 2, The Bureaucracy of Wrath. The screen flickered back to life, and the lobby fell silent once more. This time, the scene opened on what could only be described as organized chaos. The golden-haired demon, Naruto, Charlie reminded herself, though it felt strange to think of a sin by what was apparently his original name, sat at an enormous desk buried under mountains of paper. His orange coat had been discarded somewhere, leaving him in a simple black shirt with orange trim. His sleeves were rolled up, revealing forearms covered in what looked like sealing script. That's... Satan leaned forward, squinting. Those markings. They're not demonic. What are they? Beelzebub asked. Human. Or something like it. Sealing techniques, maybe? Binding rituals. Satan's voice carried a note of genuine interest. Whoever this Naruto was before becoming Satan, he wasn't born a demon. Born human? Charlie felt her mind racing. But that would mean, he earned his position. He rose through the ranks to become a sin? Or took it by force? Alastair offered cheerfully. Always a popular option. On screen, Naruto rubbed his eyes with the heels of his hands, a gesture of exhaustion so universal that everyone in the lobby recognized it. Behind him, the waistcoat duck, Quackers, apparently, was sorting papers into piles with impressive efficiency for a waterfall. Okay. Naruto muttered, more to himself than his avian assistant. Okay. Gotta prioritize. What's going to explode first? He reached for a stack of documents and began flipping through them with practiced speed. Gluttony grain distribution. B's going to want those numbers by tomorrow. Envy border dispute. That's been simmering for weeks, can probably wait another day. Greed tax revenues. Mammon can choke, his numbers are always wrong anyway. Pride ring mortal contracts. He stopped, a muscle jumping in his jaw. Pride ring mortal contracts. All requiring Lucifer's signature. All sitting on MY desk because he won't. He slammed the papers down, and the desk cracked. Quackers quacked reproachfully. I know. Breaking furniture doesn't help. Naruto took a breath, visibly centering himself. It's just, every day it's the same thing. Every single day. I handle the disputes, I sign the documents, I manage the logistics, I do everything except sit on the damn throne and wear the damn crown, and what does he do? He sits in his castle with his ducks and his memories and his grief, like the rest of us haven't lost things too. The lobby shifted uncomfortably. He's not wrong, Beelzebub said quietly. About grief. About losing things. We've all. She stopped, her perpetual smile dimming. We've all lost something. Satan said nothing, but his massive hands had clenched into fists. On screen, Naruto had moved to a window, staring out at the alien landscape of his hell. The camera followed his gaze, revealing a city that sprawled beneath a blood-red sky, but unlike Pentagram City, this metropolis had structure. Order. Districts laid out with mathematical precision, connected by roads that actually made sense. He built that. Charlie breathed. Look at it, it's organized. Functional. He built a functional city in hell. In the Wrath Ring. Satan corrected. The ring of anger and violence. And he built order there. Something flickered in his eyes. That's not easy. It's impossible. Beelzebub agreed. Wrath demons don't do order. That's why the Wrath Ring is always. She gestured vaguely. You know. Wrath why? Yet he's done it. Lucifer's voice was thoughtful. Look at the architecture. The infrastructure. That's not chaos, that's civilization. He's civilized the Wrath Ring. The screen showed more of the city now, demons moving through streets with purpose rather than random violence. Markets functioning. Children playing. It looked, impossibly, almost peaceful. How? Vaggy asked. How does one demon, even a sin, create order out of pure wrath? The answer came immediately, as if the broadcast had heard her question. The scene shifted to what appeared to be a courtroom. Naruto sat on a raised dais, no longer exhausted looking but alert, focused. Before him stood two demons, both clearly denizens of the Wrath Ring, both radiating aggression, both currently frozen in place by something that looked like fear. So you're telling me, Naruto said, his voice deceptively calm, that you started a brawl over a parking space. The larger demon, a hulking creature with too many arms, shifted uncomfortably. It was a really good parking space. The parking space in question, Naruto continued consulting a document, is located in a district with 17 available spaces within walking distance. You chose to fight over this specific one. The smaller demon, leaner, faster looking, spoke up. He looked at me wrong. He looked at you wrong, Naruto repeated flatly. With disrespect. For a moment, something flickered across the golden demon's face, exhaustion, certainly, but also something else. Something like recognition. Like he understood the impulse, even as he prepared to punish it. Let me tell you something, Naruto said, rising from his seat. He moved around the dais, approaching the two demons with a casualness that somehow made them shrink back. I understand anger. I understand it better than almost anyone in this ring. I was born angry. I grew up angry. Anger was my constant companion for longer than I care to remember. He stopped before them, and despite being physically smaller than both, he dominated the space completely. But here's the thing about anger. His voice dropped, becoming almost gentle. It's a tool. A weapon. A fire. And like any fire, it either serves you or it consumes you. You, he pointed at the larger demon. Let it consume you over a parking space. And you, he pointed at the smaller. Let it consume you over a look. The demons had the grace to look ashamed. So here's what's going to happen. You're both going to spend the next month working in the district's infrastructure core. You'll repair roads, maintain buildings, perform actual useful labor. And at the end of that month, if you haven't killed each other, you'll come back here and tell me what you learned about managing your anger. That's not fair, the larger demon protested. He started it. I don't care who started it. Naruto's eyes flashed, and for just a moment, the power underlying his casual demeanor became visible, a pressure that made both demons stumble backward. I care who ends it. And you're going to end it by learning to coexist, or you're going to end it by spending the next century in the deepest hole I can dig. Your choice. The demons exchanged glances, then nodded hastily. As they were escorted out, Naruto returned to his seat and immediately deflated, exhaustion rushing back to fill the space his authority had emptied. Two more, he muttered to Quackers, who had been observing from a corner. Two more demons who'll either learn something or come back worse. Either way, it's two more I tried to reach. Quackers quacked softly, hopping onto the desk and nudging a cup of something steaming toward his master. Thanks, buddy. Naruto wrapped his hands around the cup, staring into its depths. You know what the worst part is? I actually believe in this. I believe they can be better. I believe anyone can be better. That's what. He stopped, something complicated crossing his face. That's what I was taught. By people who believed in me when no one else did. The lobby was utterly silent. Who taught you? Charlie whispered, though of course he couldn't hear her. As if in answer, the screen shimmered, and new images began to appear, ghost-like figures superimposed over the scene. A silver-haired man with one eye covered, lounging against the wall with a small orange book in hand. A dark-haired beauty with gentle eyes and chakra-enhanced fists. A stoic figure with dark eyes and an expression of permanent seriousness. An older man with white hair and a toad on his shoulder, laughing at something off-screen. His people, Lucifer murmured. His family before hell. The images faded, leaving Naruto alone with his duck and his paperwork. Iruka-sensei, he whispered to the empty room. Jiraiya-sama. Sakura-chan. Sasuke, you stupid bastard, I hope you're happy wherever you are. I hope you found peace. He laughed bitterly. One of us should. Charlie felt tears streaming down her face and didn't bother wiping them away. He misses them, Baggy said softly, her hand finding Charlie's. He misses his family. We all do, Beelzebub said, and for once there was nothing playful in her voice. We all miss someone. The scene shifted again, pulling back from Naruto's private moment to show the broader scope of his existence. Days passed in montage, meetings with ring governors, disputes between demon factions, signing ceremonies for trade agreements, public appearances where he smiled and waved despite the exhaustion carved into his features. Always working. Always moving. Always carrying weight that should have been shared. And intercut with these images, another figure began to appear. A demoness. Pink and white coloration, heart-shaped markings on her cheeks, and presence that seemed to light up whatever space she occupied. She appeared at the edges of scenes, watching Naruto during his public appearances, performing on stages across the rings, surrounded by adoring fans. Verasaka Mayday. The real Verasaka Mayday, or at least, her alternate reality counterpart. Holy shit! Angel Dust breathed. That's Verasaka. Our Verasaka's alternate self. And she's... Charlie watched as the screen showed the pop star approaching Naruto after a public address, her expression shifting from professional performer to something warmer. Something personal. She's with him. She's his girlfriend. The screen confirmed, text appearing beneath the image. Verasaka Mayday, pop star and partner to Satan. The lobby erupted. Verasaka? Beelzebub shrieked, somewhere between horror and delight. The pop star is dating Satan. The pop star is dating that Satan. Satan himself corrected, though he looked almost offended. The soft one. The one with feelings and paperwork. Soft? Angel Dust cackled. Did you miss the part where he nearly crushed a desk by looking at it wrong? That demon could probably bench press this entire hotel. But he's also crying about his dead family and teaching anger management classes. Baggy pointed out. He's complicated. Most interesting people are. Alastair observed, and there was something almost like approval in his voice. This alternate Satan has depth. Layers. He's not merely wrath personified, he's wrath that's learned to coexist with everything else. Fascinating. On screen, the relationship between Naruto and Verasaka unfolded in vignettes. Quiet dinners in his private quarters, where she listened to him vent about paperwork and he listened to her complain about tour schedules. Public appearances where they supported each other, her at his policy announcements, him at her concerts. Private moments of vulnerability, where the masks dropped and two exhausted demons found comfort in each other's presence. He loves her, Charlie whispered. You can see it. He really loves her. And she loves him, Vaggie agreed. Look at the way she looks at him, like he's the only person in any room. The screen showed a particular scene. Naruto, late at night, slumped over his desk in exhausted sleep. Verasaka entered quietly, a takeout container in hand. When she saw him, her expression softened into something so tender it hurt to witness. She set down the food, draped a blanket over his shoulders, and pressed a gentle kiss to his forehead before settling into a nearby chair to wait for him to wake. That's... Beelzebub's voice cracked. That's love. Real love. Even in hell, Satan murmured. Even in hell, Lucifer agreed quietly. The scene lingered on the sleeping demon and his watchful partner, and Charlie found herself gripping Vaggie's hand tightly. This was what she wanted. This was what she believed in, that even the most damaged souls could find connection. could find peace, could find love. But even as the tender moment played out, shadows gathered at the edges of the frame. A knock at the door. Verasika rising to answer it. A messenger demon handing her a document with a seal that made her face go pale. What is it? Naruto's voice, groggy with sleep. Verasika turned, and her expression told everything. It's from the Pride Ring. From Lucifer. Naruto was instantly awake. What does he want? He doesn't want anything. Verasika's voice was carefully controlled. He's informing you that he's rejected the latest round of enduring trade agreements. All of them. Without review. The silence that followed was deafening. Without review, Naruto repeated. He didn't even look at them. He says he doesn't need to. He says? Verasika glanced at the document, her jaw tightening. He says if you want agreements, you can negotiate them yourself. He's done mediating. He's done. Naruto stopped, and Charlie watched the emotions play across his face, hurt first, then anger, then something that looked terrifyingly like relief. Like permission. He's done. He's actually done. Naruto. He's given up. Completely. Finally. Naruto stood, and there was something different in his posture now. Something that had been building for years, finally reaching critical mass. He's handed me everything. All of it. The responsibility, the work, the impossible weight of running hell, and he expects me to just accept it. To keep carrying it alone. What are you going to do? Naruto looked at her, and for the first time, Charlie saw something other than exhaustion in his eyes. Something harder. Something that had been sleeping and was now waking up. I'm going to make him see, he said quietly. I'm going to make him understand what he's been asking of me. What we've all been asking of me. And if he won't see. He stopped, shook his head. No. He'll see. He has to see. The screen flickered, the scene beginning to dissolve. Wait, Charlie breathed. What's he going to do? The answer came in a final title card. Chapter 3: The Visit. The lobby remained silent long after the screen went dark. Charlie looked around at the assembled demons, her father, her aunts and uncles, her friends and residents. All of them had been affected by what they'd witnessed. All of them had seen something of themselves in that exhausted golden demon and his impossible burden. He's going to confront him, Vaggie said finally. The alternate Lucifer. He's going to do something drastic. Wouldn't you? Satan's voice was rough. If you'd been carrying everything alone for years while someone else sat on a throne doing nothing, wouldn't you eventually snap? I don't sit on a throne doing nothing, Lucifer said quietly. No one responded. The silence stretched, uncomfortable and heavy. Charlie opened her mouth to say something, to bridge the gap, to find common ground, to do what she always did and try to fix things, but before she could speak, the screen flickered again. New images began to form. A castle. A throne room. A confrontation brewing. Chapter 3: The Visit. The story was continuing, whether they were ready or not. Chapter 3: The Visit. The throne room of Lucifer's castle stretched endlessly in every direction, a monument to ego and isolation. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings too high to see. Mirrors lined the walls, reflecting the same image over and over, a seated figure, wings folded, expression distant. Ducks wandered freely across the marble floors, their webbed feet leaving tiny prints that servants would later scramble to clean. The alternate Lucifer sat on his duck throne, and yes, it was definitely made of ducks, stuffed ducks, arranged in an elaborate pattern that somehow supported his weight, and stared at nothing. I don't understand how he can just. Charlie started. Shh, Vaggie murmured. Something's happening. The massive doors at the end of the throne room burst open. Not swung. Not pushed. Burst. They flew inward with enough force to crack marble, torn from their hinges by a wave of power that made the mirrors vibrate and the ducks scatter in panicked quacking. Through the doorway stepped Naruto, and he looked nothing like the exhausted bureaucrat from earlier chapters. His orange coat billowed behind him despite the absence of wind. His golden hair seemed to glow with its own light. And his eyes, those brilliant blue eyes, had shifted, the pupils becoming slits, the irises bleeding into something red and terrible. What? The alternate Lucifer said slowly, rising from his throne. Are you doing? What I should have done years ago. Naruto's voice carried through the chamber, echoing off those distant ceilings. What you forced me to do by abandoning every single responsibility you had. The lobby leaned forward as one. I haven't abandoned. You rejected every entering agreement without review. You let mortal contracts pile up until they became impossible to manage. You stopped attending Sin councils, stopped mediating disputes, stopped doing anything except sitting here with your ducks and your memories while the rest of us, while I, held everything together. Naruto advanced, and with each step, the power in the room grew. The mirrors began to crack. The chandeliers swung violently. Even the ducks, who had initially scattered, seemed frozen in place, unable to flee. I have held up the sky, Naruto continued, his voice rising. I have managed the impossible. I have done your job and my job and half of everyone else's job because someone had to and no one else would. And what thanks do I get? What recognition? What help? Lucifer's expression shifted, something that might have been guilt flickering across his features before being suppressed. I never asked you to. You never had to. That's the point. Naruto was close now, close enough that the height difference between them became irrelevant. His power pressed against Lucifer's like two storms colliding. When someone you love disappears, when everything falls apart, you don't ask for help. You just do. You keep going because stopping means admitting you can't handle it, and admitting you can't handle it means admitting you're weak, and you can't be weak because everyone depends on you. His voice cracked on the last words, and for just a moment, the fury gave way to something raw. Lilith left, he said quietly. She left, and you broke. And I. He stopped, regrouped. I understood. I did. Grief is. I know grief. I know what it does to you. But Lucifer, it's been centuries. And you're still broken. You're still hiding. You're still letting everyone else carry what you should be carrying because you can't, or won't, face your own pain. The lobby was utterly silent. Charlie looked at her father, her real father, and saw something she'd never seen before. Tears. Silent tears tracking down his face as he watched his alternate self face truths that clearly resonated. Dad? She whispered. Lucifer didn't respond. He couldn't. On screen, the alternate Lucifer had gone still. His wings drooped slightly, losing their proud arch. His expression crumbled by degrees, the lazy mask dissolving to reveal something broken beneath. You think I don't know? His voice was barely audible. You think I don't lie awake every night knowing what I've become? What I've failed to be? He laughed bitterly. I'm the king of hell. The fallen one. I was supposed to be better than this. I was better than this. But she... He stopped, swallowed. She was everything. And when she left, she took the best parts of me with her. Then find new best parts. Naruto's voice had softened, but it still carried steel. That's what I did. That's what we all have to do. You think I was born capable of managing a ring? You think I always knew how to handle wrath, to channel it, to use it instead of being consumed by it? I had to learn. I had to fight for every single piece of growth I've ever achieved. And I had to do it while people I loved died around me, while I failed them, while I carried guilt so heavy I could barely move. He stepped closer still, close enough to touch. I know loss, he said quietly. I know grief. I know what it's like to wake up every morning and have to choose to keep going because stopping would mean betraying everyone who believed in you. But I also know. His voice broke. I also know that the people who loved us, the people who believed in us, they didn't do it so we could curl up and die when they were gone. They did it so we could live. So we could honor their memory by becoming everything they saw in us. The alternate Lucifer stared at him, and something was cracking behind his eyes. Lilith didn't leave so you could stop living. Naruto continued. She left. He stopped, seeming to realize something. Wait. Did she leave? Or did something happen to her? The question hung in the air. The alternate Lucifer's expression shifted, from grief to something more complicated. Something that looked almost like fear. What do you mean? He asked carefully. I mean, Naruto's eyes narrowed. You've always said she left. Disappeared. Chose to go. But have you ever actually known that? Have you ever confirmed it? Silence. Long, terrible silence. What are you suggesting? The alternate Lucifer's voice had gone dangerous. I'm suggesting that maybe, just maybe, there's more to this story than you've been telling yourself. Than any of us have known. Naruto stepped back, giving the other demon space to process. Think about it. Lilith loved you. Everyone knew that. Everyone saw it. And then one day she's just gone? With no explanation, no warning, no nothing? Does that sound like her? The alternate Lucifer's face had gone pale. I assumed. You assumed she stopped loving you. You assumed you weren't enough. You assumed the worst because that's what broken people do. Naruto's voice was gentle now, almost kind. But Lucifer, what if you're wrong? What if something happened to her? What if she needs help and we've been sitting here for centuries doing nothing while she... Stop. The word echoed through the throne room, carrying power that made the remaining mirrors shatter. The alternate Lucifer stood rigid, trembling, his wings half spread in agitation. You can't come in here and... He stopped, struggling. If something happened to her, if she needed help and I wasn't there... Then you fix it. Naruto's voice was firm. You find her. You save her. You stop drowning in guilt and start doing something. That's what she would want. That's what anyone who loves you would want. The two rulers stared at each other across the shattered remnants of Lucifer's denial. And slowly, gradually, something shifted in the King of Hell's expression. The grief was still there, would probably always be there. But beneath it, something else was stirring. Something that looked almost like hope. You really think? Lucifer started. I think we won't know until we try. Naruto extended his hand. Together. Not you alone, not me alone. Together. Like we should have been all along. For a long moment, Lucifer just stared at that offered hand. Then, slowly, he reached out and took it. The lobby erupted in cheers. Charlie was on her feet, clapping, tears streaming down her face. Vaggie was hugging her. Even Angel Dust looked moved, though he'd never admit it. Beelzebub was openly weeping. Satan's expression was complicated, but there was something like respect in his eyes. They did it, Charlie breathed. They're going to work together. They're going to find her. Don't celebrate yet. Alastair's voice cut through the joy, his smile sharp. Look! The screen had shifted again. The scene remained in the throne room, but the mood had changed. Naruto and Lucifer stood side by side, planning, strategizing, but even as they talked, shadows gathered at the edges of the frame. Dark shapes moving in ways that suggested they weren't part of the castle's normal inhabitants. Something was watching. Something had been watching all along. And in a different part of hell, in a place that existed between rings, a figure sat alone in darkness. Female. Elegant. Unmistakably powerful. Lilith. But not imprisoned. Not trapped. Not in need of rescue. Watching. Waiting. Smiling. The screen froze on her face, and a final title card appeared. Chapter 4, The Queen's Game. The lobby was silent again, but this silence was different. Charged. Terrified. She's alive, Vaggie whispered. Lilith is alive. In that reality. And she's not trapped, Charlie added, her voice shaking. She's watching them. She's been watching this whole time. What kind of game is she playing? Lucifer's voice was barely controlled. What kind of woman lets her husband fall apart for centuries while she just watches? No one had an answer. But on screen, the story was clearly far from over. Chapter 4, The Queen's Game. The between place existed outside normal space, a pocket dimension that Lilith had discovered centuries ago and quietly made her own. It looked like an endless garden, flowers that bloomed in impossible colors, trees with silver leaves, paths that led nowhere and everywhere simultaneously. At its center, a pavilion of white marble housed a single chair. Lilith sat in that chair watching. The screen showed her watching multiple scenes simultaneously, Naruto and Lucifer planning in the throne room, Verasika pacing anxiously in Naruto's quarters, demons across the rings going about their daily lives unaware of the drama unfolding above them. All of it reflected in a pool of still water at her feet, images rippling across its surface like living paintings. She has surveillance, Beelzebub muttered. On everyone. Everything. A queen's prerogative, Alastair observed, though his smile had tightened. Information is power, after all. On screen, Lilith raised a hand, and the images shifted. They focused now on Naruto, his exhaustion, his determination, the way he'd finally pushed back against Lucifer's neglect. She studied him with an expression that was impossible to read. You've grown, she murmured. More than I expected. More than anyone expected. A pause. But have you grown enough? The scene shifted to show Naruto and Lucifer's planning session in more detail. They'd moved to a war room now, maps of hell spread across a massive table. Other figures had joined them, demons who looked like advisors, generals, representatives from various rings. The last confirmed sighting of Lilith was in the Greed Ring, one advisor was saying, pointing to a location on the map. 3 centuries ago. She was seen entering a casino owned by Mammon and never seen leaving. Mammon. Lucifer's voice was flat. Of course. You think he's involved? Naruto asked. I think Mammon is involved in everything that involves profit, and Lilith disappearing creates all kinds of profitable chaos. Lucifer's wings twitched. If he's hiding her, if he's been holding her all this time, then we find her and we free her. Naruto's jaw set. And then we deal with Mammon. Dealing with Mammon means dealing with greed's economy. The entire ring runs on his systems. If we move against him without a plan, we could destabilize everything. Then we plan. Naruto met Lucifer's eyes. Properly. Together. No more lone wolf missions, no more carrying everything alone. We do this right. Something like respect flickered across Lucifer's face. You've changed. You're not just angry anymore. I'm still angry. Naruto's smile was sharp. I'm just angry with purpose now. There's a difference. The lobby murmured appreciation. Even Satan nodded slightly. He's learning. The real Satan observed. Wrath without direction is destruction. Wrath with direction is transformation. Did you learn that? Beelzebub asked quietly. Satan was silent for a long moment. I'm still learning. On screen, the planning continued, but the broadcast began to split, showing multiple storylines simultaneously. In one frame, Naruto and Lucifer strategized. In another, Verasika paced and worried. In a third, Mammon conducted business in his casino, oblivious, or seemingly oblivious, to the storm gathering against him. And in the between place, Lilith watched it all, her smile never wavering. Why? Charlie asked aloud. Why is she just watching? Why doesn't she just come back? Because she doesn't want to, Baggy said softly. Or because she can't. Or because... She stopped, considering. Or because she's testing them. Testing both of them. Testing them for what? The screen provided an answer. In the between place, Lilith rose from her chair and moved to stand before the pool of images. She raised both hands, and the water stilled, showing only one scene now, Naruto and Lucifer, standing side by side, united in purpose. Centuries I've waited, Lilith said quietly. Centuries I've watched. Watched my husband drown in grief. Watched his kingdom crumble. Watched a demon rise from nothing to hold it all together. She paused, something complicated crossing her elegant features. I needed to know. Needed to see if either of them could become what hell truly needs. And? The voice came from nowhere and everywhere, ancient, patient, powerful. Have they? Lilith smiled. Almost. But almost isn't enough. Not yet. She reached into the pool, her fingers breaching the surface of the water without disturbing it. When she withdrew her hand, she was holding something, a document, ancient and crackling with power. A contract. Lucifer breathed, leaning forward in his chair. That's a soul contract. Satan finished. The oldest kind. The kind that even sins can't break. On screen, Lilith examined the document with the eye of a connoisseur. My contract. Signed when I first fell, when I pledged myself to hell and to its ruler. Binding me to Lucifer, binding Lucifer to me, binding us both to the throne. If you break it, the ancient voice began. I don't intend to break it. Lilith's smile sharpened. I intend to fulfill it. But first, she rolled the contract carefully, tucking it away. First, they need to prove they're worth fulfilling it for. Both of them. Separately and together. The scene shifted again, back to the war room, where Naruto suddenly stiffened. What? Lucifer asked, noticing. Naruto's eyes had gone distant, unfocused. I felt something. Someone. He shook his head. For a second, I thought I sensed. Sensed what? I don't know. Something old. Something powerful. Watching us. Naruto's hand moved unconsciously to his chest, to a spot just over his heart. Like someone was calling to me. Testing me. Lucifer's expression flickered. Lilith? Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired and imagining things. Naruto shook himself, refocusing. Doesn't matter. What matters is finding her. If she's out there, if she's watching. He met Lucifer's eyes. Then she'll see what we're capable of. Together. The broadcast lingered on that moment, two rulers united by purpose, standing against centuries of isolation and grief. It was powerful. Moving. Hopeful. And then the shadows at the edges of the frame moved again, and the screen showed something else. In Mammon's casino, in a private room far from public eyes, a meeting was taking place. Mammon himself, bloated, glittering, radiating greed, sat across from a figure cloaked in shadows. They're coming for you, the shadowed figure said. The Ras Satan and the king himself. United. Against you. Mammon's smile was ugly. Let them come. I've been running hell's economy since before they were born. You think I'm afraid of a fox boy and a depressed duck lover? You should be. The figure leaned forward, and for just a moment, the shadows parted enough to reveal a familiar face, pale skin, dark hair, eyes that held centuries of calculation. I've seen what that fox boy can do when he's pushed too far. I've seen him move mountains. Literally. And now he has purpose. Direction. That makes him dangerous. And you? Mammon's eyes narrowed. What do you get out of this? Insurance. The figure smiled. I've spent a long time positioning myself for what's coming. The old order is ending, Lilith knows it, even if she won't admit it. When the dust settles, I intend to be standing. The lobby gasped collectively. That's... Charlie started. Madara. Satan breathed. That's Madara Uchiha. Another human-turned-demon. Another piece on this board. On screen, the figure, Madara, rose, his Sharingan eyes gleaming in the dim light. Play your part, Mammon. Delay them. Confuse them. Give me time to complete my preparations. And if I refuse? Madara's smile was terrible. Then I'll find another pawn. But you won't refuse. Greed never does. He vanished, leaving Mammon alone with his thoughts and his fear. The screen flickered, images beginning to dissolve. No! Charlie was on her feet. We need to see, what's Madara planning? Who else is involved? The answer came in a title card, but not the one she expected. Chapter 5, The Gathering Storm. And beneath it, smaller text. Featuring Itachi Uchiha, Sasuke Uchiha, and the ghosts of the past. The lobby fell into stunned silence. Itachi. Angel Dust repeated slowly. Sasuke. More names. More players. More humans who became demons. Baggy added. This alternate hell is full of them. They rose through the ranks, gained power, became major players. Or they were always there. Lucifer's voice was thoughtful. Reborn into hell. Given second chances. Shaped by their past lives into something new. Charlie looked at the screen, at the title cards slowly fading, and felt something she couldn't quite name. Fear, certainly. But also hope. Because if demons could change, if they could grow and unite and face challenges together, then maybe her hotel wasn't so impossible after all. We have to keep watching, she said quietly. We have to see how this ends. No one argued. The screen flickered once more, and the story continued. Chapter 5, The Gathering Storm. The greed ring glittered. Everything about it sparkled, the buildings, the streets, even the demons who walked them. Gold leaf adorned every surface. Neon signs promised fortunes to anyone willing to risk them. The very air smelled of money, of possibility, of the intoxicating promise that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. Charlie hated it immediately. It's like Las Vegas on steroids, she muttered. If Las Vegas was also actively trying to steal your soul. Accurate. Angel Dust agreed. I've performed there. The tips are good, but the existential dread is real. On screen, Naruto and Lucifer moved through the Greed Ring's capital city, both disguised as lesser demons. Naruto had dampened his presence somehow, the overwhelming power he displayed in the throne room now carefully contained. Lucifer had done the same, though his disguise was less successful. He kept unconsciously straightening his posture like someone used to being taller. Subtle, Naruto muttered. Very subtle. I'm being subtle. You're walking like you own everything you see. I do own everything I see. Technically. Naruto pinched the bridge of his nose, a gesture the lobby was coming to recognize as his default response to Lucifer's nonsense. Technically, you own everything in all the rings. But if Mammon realizes you're here before we're ready. He won't. I'm being very subtle. Lucifer demonstrated by slouching dramatically, which only made him look like a king trying very hard to look like he wasn't a king. See? Subtle. That's not, never mind. Just follow my lead. And try not to buy anything. Buy anything? In the greed ring? That's like telling a fish not to swim. Lucifer. Fine, fine. No buying. I'll just look. Appreciatively. From a distance. The lobby chuckled despite the tension. Even Charlie cracked a smile. But the humor faded as the scene shifted, showing them entering Mammon's casino, a massive structure that dominated the ring's skyline. It was everything the greed ring represented, excessive, overwhelming, designed to extract value from anyone foolish enough to enter. Inside, the chaos was orchestrated. Slot machines chimed constantly. Card tables hosted games where fortunes changed hands every minute. Demons of every description moved through the space, their expressions ranging from desperate euphoria to crushing despair. "Welcome to paradise," Naruto murmured. "Or its opposite," Lucifer agreed quietly. "I've never liked this place. Even before." He stopped. "Before what?" "Before Lilith disappeared here. Before I had reason to hate it." Lucifer's jaw tightened. "She loved casinos, you know. Loved the energy. The possibility. She said they reminded her of heaven, all that potential, all those hopes riding on chance." "Did she ever lose?" "Never. That was the problem. When you never lose, you stop appreciating the wins." Lucifer shook himself. "Come on. We need to find Mammon's private offices." They moved deeper into the casino, navigating crowds and avoiding security. The broadcast followed them, but also began showing other scenes, other players moving into position around the ring. In a seedy bar on the ring's edge, a dark-haired demon sat alone, nursing a drink that he never actually consumed. His face was half hidden by shadows, but his eyes, dark, carrying the weight of centuries, were unmistakable. Sasuke Uchiha? The real Sasuke, the alternate version, looked nothing like the hopeful young man Charlie had glimpsed in Naruto's memories. This was someone who had been in hell a long time. Someone who had adapted. Someone who had become something dangerous. "You're brooding again." The voice came from behind him, and Sasuke didn't react, had clearly sensed the approach long before the speaker announced themselves. "Itachi." The demon who moved to join him shared Sasuke's features, but where Sasuke's expression was closed and guarded, this one was serene. Peaceful, even. Itachi Uchiha slid into the seat across from his brother, and signaled for a drink of his own. "You've been sitting here for 3 hours," Itachi observed. "The drink hasn't moved." "I'm not thirsty." "You're never thirsty. Or hungry. Or tired. Or anything, really." Itachi's voice was gentle, but his eyes, Sharingan eyes like his brother's, held something sharper beneath. "Sasuke. It's been centuries. You can't keep living like this." "I'm not living. I'm existing. There's a difference." The lobby winced collectively. "Brothers," Angel Dust muttered. "Always complicated." On screen, Itachi studied his younger brother with an expression that held centuries of guilt and love in equal measure. "He's coming here, you know. Naruto. With Lucifer. They're going to confront Mammon." Sasuke's hand tightened on his glass, the first real reaction he'd shown. So I thought you might want to know. Given your history." "My history with Naruto ended when we died. When we all died and woke up here." Sasuke's voice was flat. "He became a sin. I became this. We don't have history anymore." "You don't believe that." "I believe what I choose to believe." Itachi sighed, the sound carrying the weight of someone who'd had this conversation many times before. "Brother, I know you feel responsible for what happened. For the choices you made in life. But hell is not punishment, not for us. It's opportunity. A chance to become something new." "A chance to become demons, you mean? Monsters. Exactly what everyone always feared we were." "We became exactly what we chose to become. Just like in life." Itachi leaned forward. "Naruto chose to build something. To create order from chaos. To help others find their way. What did you choose?" Sasuke was silent. "I'm not judging," Itachi continued. "I made my own choices, some good, some terrible. But Sasuke, if you want something different, you have to actually reach for it. It won't just fall into your lap." "And if I don't want something different?" "Then you'll sit in this bar for another century, drinking nothing, feeling nothing, being nothing. And Naruto will keep building his empire and loving his pop star, and maybe, one day he'll stop looking over his shoulder, hoping to see you there." The words hung in the air between them. Finally Sasuke spoke, his voice barely audible. "He looks for me?" "Every day. Every public appearance. Every time he thinks no one's watching." Itachi's eyes were sad. "He misses you, brother. Even after everything. Even after all this time." The lobby was silent, caught in the weight of centuries-old longing. On screen, Sasuke's expression shifted, just slightly, just enough to show that something still lived behind that careful mask. "I don't know how to go back," he whispered. "I don't know how to be that person again. The person he remembers." "You don't have to go back. You just have to go forward. Together." Itachi rose, placing a hand on his brother's shoulder. He's going to need help, Sasuke. What's coming? It's bigger than Mammon. Bigger than any of us know. And when it arrives, he's going to need everyone who ever mattered to him standing at his side. What's coming? Itachi's expression darkened. I don't know exactly. But I've been watching. Feeling. Something's moving in the spaces between rings. Something old. Something that's been waiting a very long time for something. He moved toward the door, then paused. Mammon's private offices are in the casino's east wing, sub-level 3. If you're going to help, that's where they'll need you most. He left. Sasuke sat alone for a long moment, staring at nothing. Then, slowly, he rose. The glass on the table finally moved, not because he drank from it, but because he set down coins to pay for a drink he'd never touched. And he walked out into the glittering chaos of the Greed Ring. The broadcast shifted back to Naruto and Lucifer, who had reached the casino's east wing. They moved through corridors that became increasingly opulent, gold leaf giving way to actual gold, precious gems embedded in walls, floors made of polished obsidian that reflected their disguised forms like dark mirrors. This place is obscene, Naruto muttered. This place is Mammon. Obscene is his baseline. Lucifer paused at a junction, consulting something only he could see. Sub-level 3 should be just ahead. There's a service elevator. He stopped. Naruto had frozen, his head tilted, his expression shifting. What? Lucifer asked. I sense. Naruto's eyes widened. Someone's here. Someone. The shadows at the end of the corridor moved. Sasuke stepped into view. For a long, terrible moment, neither of them moved. Naruto stared at the figure before him, his disguise flickering as his concentration wavered. Sasuke stared back, his expression carefully blank. You're here, Naruto finally said. His voice cracked on the words. Apparently. Sasuke's voice was flat, but his eyes, those dark, ancient eyes, held something complicated beneath. You're storming Mammon's stronghold with the King of Hell. Without backup. Without a plan. Without. Sasuke. The name stopped him cold. Naruto stepped forward, his disguise falling away completely, revealing the golden demon beneath. His eyes were bright, too bright, wet with something that might have been tears. You're here, he repeated. You're actually here. I said I was? No, I mean you're here. After all this time. After everything. You're standing in front of me and you're. Naruto stopped, visibly collecting himself. Where have you been? Centuries, Sasuke. Centuries I've been looking for you, hoping you'd. Why? The question was sharp, cutting through Naruto's emotion. Why what? Why have you been looking for me? Why do you care? We died. We woke up here. We became this. Sasuke gestured at himself, at Naruto, at everything. You're a sin. A ruler. You have power, purpose, a woman who loves you. Why would you waste any of that looking for me? Naruto stared at him. Then, slowly, he crossed the distance between them. You're an idiot, he said quietly. You've always been an idiot. The smartest, most talented, most infuriating idiot I've ever known. He stopped directly in front of Sasuke, close enough to touch. You're my brother, Sasuke. Not by blood, we never had that. But by everything that matters. By every battle we fought together, every wound we shared, every time we saved each other when saving seemed impossible. He reached out, gripping Sasuke's shoulder. I looked for you because you're family. Because losing you once almost destroyed me. Because if I had to spend eternity in hell, I wanted to spend it with the people who mattered most. His voice broke again. I wanted you there, you stubborn bastard. I wanted to see you smile. I wanted to watch you find peace. I wanted. Sasuke moved. It wasn't a hug, either of them were built for that. But he stepped closer, close enough that their foreheads almost touched, close enough that Naruto could see the tears he was trying so hard to hide. I don't know how, Sasuke whispered. I don't know how to be that person. The one you remember. I've been alone so long, I've forgotten how to be anything else. Then we'll remember together. Naruto's hand tightened on his shoulder. That's what family does. We remember for each other when forgetting gets too easy. The lobby was a mess of tears. Charlie was openly sobbing, Vaggie holding her tight. Angel Dust had turned away, but his shoulders shook. Even Beelzebub had stopped pretending not to cry. Satan's expression was complicated, something like longing mixed with something like hope. Family, he muttered. Imagine that. On screen, the reunion was interrupted by a sound, distant at first, then growing closer. The clash of battle. The roar of power. Mammon knows we're here, Lucifer said, appearing at Naruto's side. His expression was urgent but not panicked. We need to move. Naruto nodded, but didn't release Sasuke's shoulder. You coming? Sasuke looked at him, really looked for the first time in centuries. Yeah, he said quietly. I'm coming. The three demons moved as one, deeper into the casino's depths, toward whatever waited in sublevel 3. The screen followed them, but also showed other scenes. Itachi, moving through shadows, intercepting Mammon's guards before they could reach his brother. Verasika, back in the Wrath Ring, organizing something with frantic efficiency. Madara, watching from somewhere unseen, his Sharingan eyes tracking every move. And Lilith still in her between place, still watching, her smile slowly fading. They're coming together, she murmured. All of them. United. She paused. I didn't expect that. Didn't you? The ancient voice again. You've been watching them for centuries. You must have known what they were capable of. I knew what they were capable of individually. Together. She shook her head slowly. Together there's something new. Something even I didn't anticipate. Is that a problem? Lilith was silent for a long moment. Then she smiled, and this smile was different. Sharper. More dangerous. No, she said. It's an opportunity. The screen flickered, images beginning to dissolve. Chapter 6, The Confrontation. The title card burned bright, promising answers. And somewhere in the depths of Mammon's casino, three demons prepared to face whatever came next. Chapter 6, The Confrontation. Sublevel 3 of Mammon's casino was nothing like the glittering excess above. Here, the walls were bare stone, rough-hewn and ancient. The air was cold and still, carrying none of the artificial warmth that permeated the upper floors. And the silence was absolute, broken only by the footsteps of three demons moving through darkness. This is wrong, Naruto muttered, his voice echoing strangely in the confined space. Mammon doesn't do subtle. He doesn't do hidden. Everything about him is about display, about showing off. Unless he's hiding something he doesn't want seen. Lucifer's eyes glowed faintly, illuminating the path ahead. Something valuable enough to keep secret. Something worth more than his usual displays. Like Lilith. The words hung in the air. Sasuke, moving silently beside them, spoke for the first time since they'd entered. I've heard rumors. Whispers. About this place. About what Mammon keeps down here. What kind of rumors? Naruto asked. The kind that get demons killed for repeating. Sasuke's Sharingan eyes swept the darkness, seeing what ordinary vision couldn't. They say he found something. Something old. Something that predates hell itself. And he's been using it, feeding it, for centuries. Feeding it what? Power. Souls. Possibly both. Sasuke paused, his eyes narrowing. There's something ahead. A barrier. Not physical, something else. They approached cautiously, and as they drew closer, the nature of the barrier became visible. It shimmered like heat haze, but cold, deathly cold, radiated from it. And through it they could see. A prison, Lucifer breathed. An actual prison. Beyond the barrier, a figure sat in what appeared to be a cell of pure light. Female. Elegant. Unmistakable even after centuries. Lilith. But not the Lilith they'd seen in the between place. This Lilith was different, weakened, contained, her power stripped to almost nothing. She sat with her back against the wall, her eyes closed, her expression peaceful in a way that suggested she'd long ago made peace with her captivity. Mammon didn't take her, Naruto realized. Someone else did. Someone who wanted her hidden where no one would think to look. Then who? The barrier flickered. And Madara stepped through. The lobby erupted. Madara! Satan was on his feet, his power flaring. That manipulative, he's had her this whole time? Not the whole time, Beelzebub observed, her voice tight. Look at her. She's been there a long time, but not since she disappeared. He moved her. After she went into hiding. Why would he? Because he's playing the longest game. Lucifer's voice was quiet, controlled, but Charlie could see the fury building behind his eyes. He let Lilith hide. Let her watch. Let her think she was in control. And all along, he had a copy, a double, imprisoned here, waiting to be found. A decoy, Vaggie whispered. A trap. On screen, the confrontation was unfolding. Madara stood before the barrier, his Sharingan eyes gleaming with ancient amusement. Behind him, the imprisoned Lilith stirred, her eyes opening, and even through the barrier, her recognition of the scene before her was clear. Naruto Uzumaki, Madara said, his voice carrying through the space like oil over water. Lucifer Morningstar. And his eyes shifted to Sasuke. Ah, the prodigal brother returns. How touching. Where is she? Naruto's voice was dangerous. The real Lilith. Where is she? Safe. Watching. Waiting. Madara smiled. She's been watching you, you know. For centuries. Every struggle, every triumph, every moment of despair. She's seen it all. Why? Because she needed to know. Needed to see if either of you could become what hell requires. Madara's eyes flickered to Lucifer. You, broken by grief, unable to move forward. And you, to Naruto. Rising from nothing, building order from chaos, refusing to give up despite impossible odds. She needed to see which of you would break, and which would transform. And? Lucifer's voice was barely controlled. What did she decide? She decided that both of you were necessary. That together, you might actually be enough. Madara's smile widened. But she also decided that you needed one final test. One last push to prove that your unity was real. That it could survive anything. He raised his hand, and the barrier began to dissolve. The imprisoned Lilith rose, stepping forward as the light faded. She moved differently than the watching Lilith, more contained, more controlled, but her eyes held the same ancient intelligence. Hello, Lucy, she said softly. Lucifer's composure cracked. Lilith. I'm sorry. She crossed to him, stopping just out of reach. I'm sorry for the centuries. For the silence. For making you believe I'd abandoned you. Her voice trembled slightly. But I had to know. I had to see if you could find your way back without me. If you could become the king hell needed, rather than the husband who'd lost everything. And if I couldn't? Then I would have stayed hidden forever. Letting you believe I was gone was kinder than watching you fail while knowing I was watching. She finally closed the distance, touching his face. But you didn't fail. You found help. You found purpose. You found. She glanced at Naruto. You found someone worth standing with. Lucifer's expression was a war of emotions, relief, anger, love, betrayal, all fighting for dominance. You should have told me. You should have trusted me. I should have done a lot of things. Lilith's smile was sad. But I'm here now. If you'll have me. The lobby held its breath. On screen, Lucifer stared at his wife, the wife he'd mourned for centuries, the wife who'd been watching him all along, the wife who'd put him through hell, more literally than usual, to test his worth. Then, slowly, he pulled her into his arms. I've always had you, he whispered. Even when I thought you were gone. Even when I hated you for leaving. I never stopped having you. The embrace was awkward, centuries of separation couldn't be bridged in a moment, but it was real. It was true. It was a beginning. And in the between place, the watching Lilith smiled. Finally, she murmured. Finally, they're ready. The broadcast continued, but the tension had shifted. The reunion was beautiful, but Charlie couldn't shake the feeling that something was still wrong. That Madara's presence, his easy surrender of the imprisoned Lilith, meant something they weren't seeing. Watch Madara, she whispered to Vaggie. He's too calm. Too satisfied. On screen, Madara observed the reunion with the expression of a chess player watching pieces move exactly as planned. When Lilith finally stepped back from Lucifer, he spoke again. There's one more thing you should know. They turned to face him. Your tests aren't over. They've barely begun. Madara's eyes shifted, his Sharingan spinning in patterns that hurt to watch. Lilith wanted to see if you could become worthy of ruling hell together. But there are others who want something very different. Others? Naruto's voice was sharp. What others? Ones who've been waiting since before hell existed. Ones who remember when this place was something else entirely. Ones who've been gathering power while you've been distracted by grief and growth and personal drama. He raised his hand, and the space around them began to shift. The real war, Madara said, is just beginning. The scene dissolved into chaos, images flashing too fast to follow, battles and betrayals and things that made no sense. And through it all, Madara's laughter echoed. The screen went dark. Chapter 7, The Real War. The title card appeared, then faded. And the broadcast ended. Chapter 7, The Real War. The lobby was silent for a long, terrible moment. Then chaos erupted. What does he mean, the real war? Satan's voice shook the walls. What war? Against whom? There's something older than hell, Beelzebub whispered. Something that predates us. Madara said. He said they remember when this place was something else. The primordial darkness, Lucifer murmured, and everyone turned to look at him. His face was pale, his expression haunted. Before the rings. Before the sins. Before even the fall. There was something else. Something that existed in the void before creation. And you never thought to mention this? Alastor's smile had vanished completely, a first for everyone present. I thought it was myth. Legend. Stories we told ourselves to explain what we didn't understand. Lucifer shook his head slowly. But if it's real, if Madara has found it, if he's aligned with it, then everything changes. Charlie finished the thought. Everything we know about hell, about power, about... She stopped. The broadcast. It stopped. We don't know what happens next. As if in answer, the screen flickered back to life. Intermission. The word appeared, elegant and calm. The story will continue. But first, the observers must understand, what you have witnessed is only one thread in a vast tapestry. The alternate reality you see has many players, many stories, many wars. Some you have met. Some you will meet. And some... The screen flickered again, showing faces in rapid succession. A woman with pink hair and chakra-enhanced fists, standing guard over something precious. A silver-haired man with one eye covered, leaning against a wall with familiar lazy grace. A red-haired demon with sand swirling around him, his expression unreadable. A pale figure with lavender eyes and a gentle smile, reaching towards something unseen. Hinata, Charlie breathed, recognizing the last face from Naruto's memories. Gaara, Kakashi, Sakura. They're all there. All in that hell. An army, Baggy said quietly. He's built an army without even realizing it. Or they've gathered around him naturally. Beelzebub countered. Look at them. They're not soldiers, they're family. People who loved him in life and found their way to him in death. The screen returned to the intermission card, then added. Chapter 8, The Decree of Wrath. Coming shortly. The wait felt endless, though it couldn't have been more than a few minutes. The lobby stirred restlessly, demons processing what they'd seen, what it meant, what might come next. Charlie moved to her father's side. Dad? Are you okay? Lucifer looked at her, and for once his mask was completely down. I don't know, Char. I watched myself, another version of myself, fall apart for centuries because I lost someone I loved. And then I watched myself put back together, piece by piece, because someone refused to give up on me. He shook his head slowly. It's a lot. Maybe that's why we're seeing this. Charlie took his hand. Maybe the broadcast chose us specifically. To show us something. To show me something, you mean? Maybe. Or to show all of us. She looked around the lobby, at Satan, at Beelzebub, at Alastor and Angel and Husk and Nifty and Vaggy. We're not so different from them, are we? We've got our own wars. Our own grief. Our own people who refuse to give up on us. Sentimental, Alastor observed, but his voice was softer than usual. But not entirely wrong. The screen flickered. Chapter 8, The Decree of Wrath. The scene opened on chaos. The news of Lilith's return had spread through hell like wildfire, and the rings were in turmoil. Some celebrated. Some protested. Some saw opportunity in the upheaval and moved to exploit it. But at the center of the storm, in the Wrath Ring's palace, Naruto sat alone. He wasn't working. Wasn't planning. Wasn't doing anything except staring at nothing, his expression unreadable. Verasika found him there. Hey. She moved quietly, settling beside him. They're asking for you. Lucifer wants to plan the official announcement. Mammon's demanding compensation for damages to his property. And there's a delegation from Envy that insists on speaking to you personally. Naruto didn't respond. Hey. She touched his face, turning him toward her. Talk to me. What's going on? For a long moment, he just looked at her. Then, slowly, the mask cracked. I'm tired, he whispered. I'm so tired, Sika. I've been holding everything together for so long, and now there's more. There's always more. Madara. The primordial darkness. A war that's been waiting since before hell existed. And I'm supposed to. He stopped, shaking his head. I don't know if I can do this anymore. Verasika's expression softened. You don't have to do it alone. I know. That's the worst part. He laughed bitterly. I have people now. Lucifer. Sasuke. Everyone who's gathered around me. And instead of making it easier, it just makes it harder, because now I'm responsible for them too. Now if I fail all of them. That's not how it works. It's exactly how it works. That's what responsibility is. He stood, pacing. In life, I carried so much alone because I had to. Because the people I loved kept getting taken from me. And I told myself that if I could just be strong enough, fast enough, powerful enough, I could protect them. I could keep them safe. He stopped, his back to her. But I couldn't. Jiraiya-sensei. Niji. So many others. I couldn't save them no matter how hard I tried. His voice cracked. And now I'm here in hell, with a second chance at everything, family, purpose, love, and I'm terrified, Sika. Because if I lose this, if I lose any of you, I don't think I'd survive it. Verasika rose and crossed to him, wrapping her arms around him from behind. You won't lose us. You can't promise that. I can promise that we'll fight. That we'll stand with you. That whatever's coming, you won't face it alone. She pressed her forehead against his back. That's all anyone can promise. That's all anyone ever could promise. The rest. She shrugged against him. The rest is faith. Naruto was silent for a long moment. Then he turned in her arms and held her properly, burying his face in her hair. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you've got me anyway. They stood like that for a long moment, drawing strength from each other. Then Naruto straightened, and when he spoke again, his voice was different. Calmer. More focused. I need to make a statement. A public statement. To all of hell. Verasika pulled back, searching his face. What kind of statement? The kind that changes things. His eyes were bright with something that might have been determination. Or desperation. Or both. The kind that shows everyone, Madara, the darkness, every demon in every ring, that we're not playing by their rules anymore. What are you going to do? He smiled, and it was the smile of someone who'd finally, after centuries, found their breaking point, and decided to break in a direction of their own choosing. I'm going to make them listen. The scene shifted to the Wrath Ring's central plaza, where an enormous crowd had gathered. News of an announcement from Satan himself had spread through hell with supernatural speed, and demons from every ring had flocked to witness whatever was coming. On a raised platform at the plaza center, Naruto stood alone. Lucifer and Lilith watched from nearby, their expressions concerned. Sasuke lurked in the shadows, ready to intervene if needed. Verasika stood in the crowd, her face a mask of worried love. Citizens of Hell. Naruto's voice carried without amplification, reaching every ear in the plaza and beyond. I'm speaking to you today not as Satan of the Wrath Ring, not as a ruler, not as a sin. I'm speaking to you as someone who's spent centuries watching this place crumble. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I've watched rings fragment. I've watched demons destroy each other over parking spaces and perceived slights. I've watched our leaders. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I've watched our leaders abdicate responsibility while the rest of us struggled to hold everything together. More murmurs. Some angry. Some approving. For centuries, I've done the work. All the work. I've managed disputes, signed contracts, maintained infrastructure, done everything except sit on the throne and wear the crown. And why? Because someone had to. Because if I didn't, no one would. He stepped forward, to the edge of the platform. But I'm done. I'm done carrying everything alone while others sit in comfort and do nothing. I'm done pretending that this arrangement is sustainable. And I'm done. His voice rose. I'm done waiting for permission to demand better. The crowd was utterly silent now, hanging on his every word. So here's my decree. Effective immediately, all food shipments from the Wrath Ring to the Pride Ring are suspended. No exceptions. No negotiations. No delays. Chaos erupted. The broadcast showed reactions across hell, demons and Pride suddenly realizing their food supply had just been cut off, merchants in wrath celebrating or panicking depending on their investments, politicians scrambling to respond to an unprecedented situation. On the platform, Naruto continued, his voice cutting through the noise. This is not a negotiation. This is not a temper tantrum. This is a statement of fact. If the Pride Ring's ruler refuses to govern responsibly, then the Pride Ring will face the consequences of that refusal. Every demon in every ring will understand, in the most direct way possible, that leadership matters. That responsibility matters. That we cannot continue as we have been. He paused, scanning the crowd. I know some of you will suffer because of this. I know some of you will be angry. But I also know that change doesn't happen without cost. And I'd rather pay that cost now, together, than watch hell slowly destroy itself through neglect and indifference. The broadcast showed Lucifer's face, the alternate Lucifer, his expression shifting through shock, anger, and finally something that looked almost like respect. He's right, Lucifer murmured to Lilith. About all of it. About me. Then do something about it, Lilith replied. Don't just watch. Act. The scene shifted again, showing the chaos spreading across rings. Protests. Celebrations. Fights breaking out between those who supported Naruto's decree and those who opposed it. And through it all, the Golden Demon stood firm on his platform, watching his world transform around him. The lobby was in chaos too. He cut off their food? Satan roared, though whether in anger or admiration was unclear. That's brilliant, Beelzebub finished. Terrifying and brilliant. He's using the one thing everyone needs, food, to force change. It'll cause suffering, Charlie said quietly. Innocent demons will suffer because of this. Suffering causes change. Alastor's voice was thoughtful. Change causes growth. Growth causes. He shrugged. Well, it causes something. Usually more suffering, if I'm being honest. But occasionally, something better. On screen, the broadcast continued showing the fallout. But gradually, the chaos began to organize. Demons who'd been fighting started talking. Leaders who'd been ignoring problems started addressing them. And at the center of it all, Naruto remained, watching, waiting, hoping. Is this working? Verasika asked, appearing at his side. I don't know. His voice was tired but steady. I hope so. I hope this is the push they needed. The push we needed. He looked at her. I hope I haven't just made everything worse. You haven't. She took his hand. Whatever happens next, you did this for the right reasons. That counts for something. Does it? It counts for everything. They stood together, watching hell transform around them, and for just a moment, there was peace. But the broadcast wasn't done. The screen pulled back, showing the broader picture. The chaos in the rings. The reactions of rulers. The movement of forces that had been waiting for exactly this kind of disruption. And in the between place, Lilith, the watching Lilith, rose from her chair. Finally, she said. Finally, he's done it. Done what? The ancient voice asked. Started the real war. She smiled, and it was terrible and beautiful and absolutely determined. Now we see who's really ready to fight for Hell's future. The screen flickered. Conclusion. The word appeared, then faded. And the broadcast ended. Conclusion. The lobby was silent for a long, long time. Charlie was the first to speak. Did it end? Is that the whole story? I don't think it's ever the whole story. Lucifer's voice was quiet, thoughtful. Stories like this, they keep going. Beyond what we see. Beyond what we know. But we saw. She stopped, trying to process everything. We saw him reach his limit. We saw him make the hardest choice. We saw him surrounded by people who love him, facing impossible odds and still choosing to fight. Choosing to fight smarter. Satan corrected. Choosing to use leverage instead of just rage. That's growth. It's transformation. Beelzebub agreed. He started as pure wrath, pure anger, pure reaction. And he became. She gestured at the now dark screen. Became that. A leader. A strategist. A demon who understands that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't violence, it's consequences. The residents of the hotel began to stir, processing what they'd witnessed. He's not so different from you, you know. Vaggie looked at Charlie. He believes in change. In growth. In the possibility that even demons can become something better. He also believes in doing it alone. Charlie pointed out. That's where we're different. I've got all of you. He had to build his family from scratch, in hell, over centuries. And he did. Angel Dust's voice was unusually serious. He built something worth fighting for. Worth protecting. Worth. He shrugged. Worth being tired for. The mention of exhaustion brought another round of thoughtful silence. Finally, Lucifer stood. Well, that was certainly not what I expected when Charlie invited us for a quiet evening. Dad. I'm not complaining. He crossed to her, pulling her into a hug. I'm grateful. For the reminder. For the perspective. For. He glanced at the blank screen. For seeing that even alternate versions of us can find their way back to each other. Charlie hugged him tight. You're not as broken as you think you are, Dad. Neither are you, Char Char. Neither are you. The moment was interrupted by a crackle of static. Everyone tensed, turning toward the screen. But it remained dark. Maybe it's really over, Vaggie whispered. Maybe. Alastair's smile had returned, but it was thoughtful rather than manic. Or maybe the story continues somewhere we can't see. Either way, he shrugged elegantly. It was certainly entertaining. Entertaining. Satan's voice was flat. That's one word for it. Got a better one? Satan considered. Instructive. Disturbing. Occasionally touching. He paused. Hopeful, even. In its own way. Hopeful. Beelzebub repeated. From the sin of wrath. That's. She laughed softly. That's something, isn't it? The lobby began to settle, demons drifting back to their seats or toward the bar. Husk was already pouring drinks with mechanical efficiency. Nifty was cleaning up snacks that had been scattered during particularly intense moments. Angel Dust had reclaimed his love seat and was cuddling fat nuggets with unusual tenderness. Charlie moved to the center of the room, looking at everyone gathered there, her father, her aunts and uncles, her friends, her found family. I know tonight wasn't what anyone expected, she said quietly. But I'm glad we watched together. I'm glad we saw. She gestured at the screen. Saw what's possible. Even in hell. Even for demons. Even for rulers who've lost their way. You think that's the message? Vaggie asked. That change is possible? I think that's one message. I think there are a lot of messages in what we saw. Charlie looked at each demon in turn. About responsibility. About grief. About family. About the cost of carrying everything alone versus the strength of carrying things together. And about the importance of not sitting on duck thrones while your friends drown in paperwork. Angel Dust added. Despite everything, Charlie laughed. Yes. That too. The laughter spread, breaking the tension that had built over hours of watching. Soon even Satan was chuckling, and Beelzebub was howling, and Alastair's radio-static laughter joined the chorus. It was, Charlie thought, exactly what they needed. A reminder that even in hell, even after witnessing cosmic drama and dimensional chaos, they could still laugh together. Still find joy. Still be family. The screen remained dark, but somehow that felt right. The story was over, for now. What came next was up to them. Same time next week? Beelzebub asked hopefully. In case there's more? I don't know if. Charlie started. The screen flickered. Everyone froze.